Not all hammer handles are created equal. You're going to find some handle you really like, really comfortable, feels good all day long, and you're going to get another hammer and it's going to have a club on it. It's going to feel really just odd. It just isn't right. Somebody else might love this handle, but usually it's that the handles are too big. I tend to prefer a handle that's a little bit thinner, a little springier, and a big handle. And it's a lot of these Pettighouse hammers come with great big fat handles on them. I don't know if the Europeans like them or if they intentionally make them oversized so that you can customize them. And you should customize them. There is no reason to put up with a hammer handle on your hammer that doesn't suit you. Now, if you borrow somebody else's hammer, don't go messing with their hammer. But these oversized handles can lead to problems. If you have to grip extra tight to hold on to it, and the same thing can be a problem with too small a handle, but if you're having trouble gripping, that transfers up here to your elbow. And that's what gives people tennis elbow, or for us blacksmiths, we refer to it as blacksmith's elbow. It's a very real condition. I did that to myself, it was probably 15 years ago, and I was unable to hammer normally for at least 2 months. It was excruciatingly painful. It hurt way worse than smashing my finger under the power hammer, and was every bit as debilitating. It's not fun. Once you've got it, it comes back easily, and you've got to really be careful. And there's a lot more to preventing that, and we'll discuss that maybe in a video of its own. But today, let's talk about modifying a hammer handle. Now, here are 3 hammers. These 2 I like. They suit my hand for the weight of the hammer. This one it's a little thick, especially right through here, but I think it's too thick up in here. I like a little springier handle there. So I want to change that. Now, do I knock the handle out? I guess you could, but these are good quality handles, and they are put in with this really nice round wedge, and I've never seen one of these things come loose. It will eventually, but they are a good, solid handle. There's no reason to replace it. Just fix it. That just means shaping it down. I know I want to make this a little thinner. This is what they refer to as a 4-in-hand rasp. It's kind of half round on the back. And it does a pretty good job. Your hammer's going to slip around on the vise a little bit. Should have some of those nice jaws I made the other day for this vise. And this has a coarse side, it has a smooth side, so you can thin that out. Now, if you really want to get serious, you can go to one of these really coarse rasps. That may be more aggressive than you really want. So just work on that, work both sides. It's going to be really rough to start with, but it's getting better. Now I'll turn it over and I'll do this side. Now, what's another option for working on this? Well, our friendly little disc grinder isn't a bad way to sand handles. Again, wear your respiratory protection and your eye protection. This thing's going to throw a lot of dust. You might want to do this outside the shop so you don't get sawdust all over your shop. It's going to make a mess. I cut a few inches off of that handle with a hacksaw. Thought the camera was on, but it wasn't. You can even use a draw knife, if you have a draw knife. Be careful with these around your post vise, though. A post vise is not draw knife friendly, and neither is the hammerhead. But this takes a lot of material off pretty fast. You got to be careful of grain direction when you get up into here. This is one reason the rasp is better. It's a little more forgiving. Or the angle grinder. Now, if you have a woodworking shop, you probably have other options available to you besides what I've looked at here. You have disc sanders and belt sanders, and you may have a bandsaw to do some little careful trimming, although I'm not sure if I'd go that route myself. But you'll have options. I have a belt grinder, and I make handles on that. There's some videos of me working on adzes and things that I've done handles on the belt grinder, and that's how I would normally do this. But I know most people don't have a belt grinder, so we're just looking at these other methods. But you don't need to watch me finish this. I think you get the general idea. Probably worth giving it a sanding down to at least 120, maybe 180 or 220 would be better. But you don't want it too smooth, or you have to over grip because it might fly out of your handle. Or, excuse me, fly out of your hand. But that's a much nicer handle in my mind. It's perhaps a little skinnier than these other two, but I kind of like the feel. I don't know why I've started liking skinnier handles, but I keep a pretty loose grip on a handle anyways. I don't have a death grip. But that's going to be much less likely to cause me any kind of an elbow injury. Most new handles come with some kind of a varnish on them, or in the case of the Pettighouse hammers, they had a glossy paint finish on them. And those make the handle a little bit slippery, and it gets worse if your hands are sweaty. So it's probably better to at least sand that off no matter what, or scrape it if you've got a card scraper. If you're a woodworker, you know what a card scraper is. You can just use the edge of a knife blade too to scrape most of that off. It's pretty effective. But that makes it a little better. If you want to protect your handles, it doesn't hurt to put linseed oil on them. That pretty well soaks in. It may take a few days to completely dry out, but it doesn't end up as glossy and slippery in the long run as the varnish or the paint does. And that brings up another good point. What do you do when your hammer head gets a little bit loose? You can try putting extra wedges in, but my experience is that once it gets loose, those extra wedges don't do a lot for you. Some people like to stick them in a bucket of water. That swells the handle wood up, locks it on good and tight, but it's got a problem. That's going to make the wood, crush the wood fibers. The water's going to dry out, the handle's going to shrink, the crushed fibers will now not hold anywhere near as well as before, and it's even a looser handle. Put the whole thing in a bucket of linseed oil. That oftentimes will swell it up. If not, you have to replace the handle. But try soaking it in linseed oil. I've even heard of people soaking in antifreeze, but I'm not sure what the benefit of that is. I've never tried it. I just don't need to have another bucket of who knows what laying around just for soaking hammer handles. And linseed oil is handy anyways. So that's just another quick tip on how you can modify a hammer handle to be less likely to cause injury, make it more comfortable for you to forge all day long, and suit the way you work instead of suiting the way the guy that made the hammer works. Most custom hammers, blacksmiths seem to make better handles than a lot of the manufacturers. The manufacturers anymore aren't actually blacksmiths themselves, they're just people making hammers, so they don't really know what you want. So I hope you liked the video. I hope that was useful for you. Love it if you'd give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Get out to the shop, make something, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. We'll see you later.